Chardon, hey true crime fans, welcome back to another episode of Chardon, hey true crime. I'm your host Dakota. With me as always is the lovely Kate.
That's me.
That is her. And tonight we are going to be covering Aileen Wuornos. Let me just really quick, this lady right here, Aileen Wuornos.
Oh good, I was hoping you were wearing your shirt.
I'm going to be wearing it for the next 3 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, if we're talking about Aileen Wuornos, I have to wear the shirt, you know?
Yeah, it only makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I have the shirt. And when we do Heaven's Gate, I will wear the Heaven's Gate shirt.
Oh, I forgot you had that.
Yeah. It's honestly one of my favorite shirts, not because it's Heaven's Gate, but because it's so comfortable. Honestly, it's like one of the most comfortable shirts I own.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, Aileen Wuornos, this is going to be a very intense couple of episodes. We're going to be doing 3 parts on her. And I would like to give some trigger warnings before we get started. Obviously, murder trigger warnings, because duh.
It wouldn't be Chardon Hey True Crime without murder.
So murder. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of talk of sexual assault in these episodes. Yeah, there is going to be a lot of talk of abuse in these episodes. And there's going to be a lot of talk of just straight up horrible living in these episodes. Aileen Wuornos' life is not it's not a happy one.
Yeah, no, this is a story I'm a little familiar with because like this is one you've told me a good amount about.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough.
It is rough. It really is. This is a hard episode. I mean, these next 3 episodes are going to be difficult because, you know, listen, all the serial killers that we cover are, you know, serial killers. So they're not good people, but Aileen was never given a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally ever. So, you know, there's that. Shannon says, ooh, Kate, your hair looks fab.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was smart enough to have somebody else who is better with scissors cut my bangs for me, but I did the dye job myself. I'm pretty proud of it.
She did. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so these are going to be some tough episodes, but let's get going with Aileen Wuornos. So, Kate, why don't we give us a little info on Aileen?
All right. So for those of you who don't know, Aileen Carol Lee Wuornos was an American serial killer and sex worker who murdered 7 men in Florida in 1989 and 1990 by shooting them at point blank range.
Yeah. And there is a possible 8th victim that we will talk about in the following episodes. And I will bring up why he is possibly an 8th victim. However, Aileen has never admitted to this one. And the police kind of dropped the ball on this one as well. So, you know.
As of course they did.
We will get to the police dropping the ball when it comes to Aileen Wuornos in part 3. Because holy shit, did they drop the fucking ball on this case. And I don't mean that they were like incompetent, which, you know, they were. But no, what I mean is they were fucking awful. And like as soon as this all started happening, they immediately started like signing movie deals and shit like that and like making money off of Aileen. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to come out and say real quick, the real criminal is and always has been capitalism.
Agreed. Yes, Aileen was terrible, but capitalism.
Yeah. There is nobody who is worse than capitalism.
Nope. Now, Aileen claimed that all of her victims had either raped or attempted to rape her when they were soliciting sex from her, and that all of the homicides were committed in self-defense.
Yeah, and then she was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed by lethal injection on October 9th in 2002.
Yeah, but we are not going to get into the death of Aileen until part 3. Here in part 1, we are going to talk about the early life of Aileen. Aileen Carol Lee Wuornos was born to Diane Wuornos and Leo Dale Pittman, a sociopathic schizophrenic who was arrested and imprisoned for the kidnapping and rape of a 7-year-old girl he transported across state lines to abuse. There is also some evidence to suggest that he did actually kill another girl, but it's never been corroborated, and it has never been technically, like, said that he did do this.
Boy, we're off to a great start here, huh?
Great fucking start for Eileen's life. Now, interesting fact, she was a leap year baby.
Oh, I know someone who was a leap year. I know someone else who was a leap year baby.
Oh yeah, who's that?
It was my younger brother's aide in elementary school. She was born on February 29th.
Neat. So was Aileen.
Hey.
I say small world, but I don't know if that really counts.
Just the connection is minimal.
Small timeline? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. So the two, Diane and Leo, were married when Diane was 14 and Leo was 19. His grandmother actually approved of the match, and she lied about their ages so that they would be able to get married.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. They had 2 children, Keith and Aileen, who, after Leo was arrested, when Aileen was very, very young, they were brought to Diane's parents' house to ask them to babysit. And then she called them like a day later and was like, I'm never coming back, FYI. And they were just like, excuse me? And she was just like, yep, your problem now. Bye. I'm signing over my parental rights, which she did. They actually legally adopted Keith and Aileen. So that's like one good thing that Britta and Lori did, which were their names. But
his name was Britta?
No, her name was Britta. His name was Lori.
Interesting.
Lori's a guy's name.
It's Britta that's throwing me.
It's German. Her name was Aileen Britta Wuornos, but because, you know, we're talking about Aileen, like, it makes more sense to just call her Britta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so Diane's parents had 3 children of their own, the youngest being Diane, but they raised their grandchildren as if they were their own children without telling them that they had been adopted. Yeah.
Huh. And, oh yeah, and in fact, Aileen found out that they were adopted when she was 11, and she was crushed by the revelation.
Yeah.
Not only that they had lied about this, but like the sense of abandonment from the mother she only got to see at family funerals.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different stories about life in Lori and Britta's home and they're varied, but what we know is life was not healthy for Aileen.
No, it really wasn't. No, in fact, in the book Monster by Christopher Berry D, using Eileen's own words from interviews that he conducted with her while she was in prison, Aileen describes a hard, abusive life. She talks about how she would have to cut a switch to be beaten with, and learned, like others do, that the thicker the branch was, the less it would hurt.
Oh God. And that's not even the only thing that Lori beat her with either.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Actually, in the home, on a nail in the wall, Lori kept a leather belt that he would use to beat his children with and forced Aileen to clean after he was done beating her.
Oh, God. And not only that, but when he would beat Aileen with the belt, he would force her to get naked and spread out on the kitchen table or on a bed while he beat her.
Yeah. Naked and spread eagle for her grandfather to beat her. Or as she was concerned, her father.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of talk about Lori abusing Aileen, not just mentally or physically, but sexually as well. And Lori wasn't the only one who did. At a very young age, Aileen was having a sexual relationship with her brother Keith. Something that the other children knew about and would tease him for.
Oh my God. Oh, that's horrifying.
Yeah, and at that point, like, she was maybe 11, and while she was hanging out with other kids who were making out or exploring each other, Aileen started to learn how to trade sexual favors for pocket change, food, and cigarettes, thus being known by the awful name, the Cigarette Bandit, or even worse, the Cigarette Pig.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What the fuck is wrong with kids? Kids are the worst. Middle schoolers are, to quote John Mulaney, middle schoolers are the most terrifying people on earth.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. It is horrific.
God damn.
Now, at the age of 6, Aileen discovered a serious fascination with fire, which goes into the McDonald Triad.
Quadrant.
The McDonald Quadrant, as we call it here on the show. Cathaniel, would you like to explain the McDonald Quadrant?
Yes, it is officially known as the McDonald Triad, but we here at Chardonnay True Crime believe that it should be a quadrant. The
Agreed.
Triad is it's a list of things that have happened or like behaviors that have been exhibited that are very consistent with serial killers, and those are playing with fire, bedwetting, and animal abuse.
Yeah. However,
yes, we here at Chardonnay True Crime believe that the addition of head injuries should be part of it, thus making it a quadrant.
Yeah, I tried. I try. Yeah, no, seriously. Like, it should be a quadrant because so many of them have head injuries. And honestly, Aileen actually gets a head injury that we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah. No, she caused a pretty bad fire at the age of 6 that ended up burning her face, which is awful.
Oof.
Yeah, you would think she would learn, but no, she gets back into fire again in a big way a little bit later. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's a theme with Aileen.
Fire's just so pretty. Yeah. And then another lifelong theme in Aileen, like in her life, is desperation to find love, and she had never had love in her life.
Yeah, but of course she would cling to anyone who showed her even the slightest affection, be it her brother, her friend Dawn Botkins, who remained her closest friend until the day she was executed, or, you know, the town pedophile.
Oh!
Because that's a
Love
thing.
that for her.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
talk about him in a minute.
And, like, I think Dawn, like, it seems like that's the only person who really genuinely liked her. Is that kind of how it was?
I mean, it would seem that way because, you know, there was a story that a former classmate told about how Aileen was pushed out of a moving van and hit her head on the ground, and none of the other kids went to help her.
Hey, there's that head injury.
There it is. There it is.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And like as we said before, she had a serious fascination with fire, like many serial killers. And in ninth grade, she caused another explosion.
Yep.
And this one was much worse. And it actually had Lee hospitalized.
Yeah, she ended up with serious burns all over her arms and face. And actually, it would leave scars that stayed with her until her execution.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, by the age of 12, after discovering the previous year that her grandparents weren't her birth parents as she had originally thought, Aileen became a heavy drinker.
Oh,
Something
honey.
that did not help her already extremely violent temper, nor did the drugs she was doing, which was all of them. Like,
God, okay, but I'm sorry, but life in that house could not have been easy with her drugs and drinking and cigarette prostitution. Like, holy shit.
I know, right? I mean, she and Dawn used to like go hitchhiking to Detroit because like this is all happening in Michigan. It's happening in Troy, Michigan. And they used to go hitchhiking to Detroit to go buy drugs at the age of 12. What were you doing at 12, Cathaniel?
Sitting in a computer lab having a crush on my teacher and not talking to people because I was shy.
Yeah. At 12, I was writing really shitty fan fiction on the internet and becoming lifelong friends with Gemma.
There you go.
That's what I did at 12. You know, never.
Did I do anything interesting when I was 12? I was in a really shitty production of Aladdin Jr.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that production. It was not good.
No, it was not.
Oh. Yeah, no, so life was not easy in that house. On several occasions, Lori threw her out of the house. Once on Christmas, reminder, this is Michigan. So like, imagine how fucking cold it was. And she had to go live in the fucking woods behind their house for like days. And like some other kid from school, some like boy went out there and like lived with her, but I'm assuming he was just, you know, giving her cigarettes for sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes
Sorry,
me
I got a hair in my wine.
You're good. You're just like really ingy right now, aren't you?
I just
This isn't a good story.
It's not.
It doesn't get better. I just want you to know that. It does not get better.
Strangely enough, I kind of assumed that. It's hard to imagine like having this kind of start in life. And like I know like when you're at rock bottom, the thought is, well, things can only get better.
No.
Can it though? Some people have shovels.
Yeah, let me just go ahead right now. You know, you would think at this point things can only get better for Aileen. Things can only get worse for her. And they do.
Oof.
No, so Lori threw her out on Christmas, forcing Lee to live in the woods for a few days, but she eventually came back home. And another time he threw her out and she had to sleep in parked cars. So,
like,
you know, what?
Like breaking into neighbors' cars?
So like I said before, it was like near the woods, right? Like they live near the woods kind of. So, the houses were kind of like spread apart a little bit, and it was the kind of place where people had like cars on cylinder blocks kind of situation.
Oh, boof, boof.
They so loud. Yeah, but no, so it was more like they had like cars on cylinder blocks, and you know, the neighbors would be like, I'll just leave this like shitty old, you know, Studebaker that has a rotted out seat and is like all springs and no cushion. I'll leave that unlocked. And if Lee wants to sleep on that, she can.
Jesus Christ.
Right? Seriously.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, the story of Aileen Wuornos is not a happy one. There is no part of her life that's good, and I honestly feel like she is pretty much the female version of Henry Lee Lucas.
Ugh.
In that she was like a drifter, and she, you know, but like slightly less off-putting, if that makes sense.
A little less disgusting?
Yeah, a little less disgusting for sure.
Ugh.
She didn't have a drippy eye.
Yeah, she had scars, but like that was very different.
Her
That's
eyes
very
were-
different.
Yeah, her eyes were
Her
normal.
eyes were intact.
Yeah, in fact, let me pull up a picture of Aileen.
You've got a picture of her on your tits.
I mean, yeah, but I can't be showing off my tits all night. I'm pretty sure that would get us demonetized. Just saying.
Give the people what they want, you coward.
Well, no one in the comments has said that that is what they want, so I'm not doing it.
That's because they're cowards. Oh my god.
And they call Aileen a monster. You're a monster. Now, let me show a picture of Aileen I've got pulled up real quick. There you go.
Whew, excuse me.
That's Aileen. So, you know, you can see she has normal eyes.
She's a average looking person.
Yeah. She was, you know, considered attractive when she was younger. By the next episode, I'll see if I can find a picture of her when she's young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
you know, drugs and heavy drinking, especially from the age of 12,
Younger.
fuck you up a little bit.
She was a heavy drinker by 12. So my guess is she started drinking around like 10, 11.
That like there's something about that like stresses me out for some reason. I don't know how to explain it, but like
The idea of a basic infant getting drunk.
yeah, there's something about like a child being so unsupervised that they have not only access to alcohol, but they seem able to drink it freely in abundance. And there's like a stronger word than abundance, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
in excess.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just like
Mhm.
it's like I know where her parents are, but I'm just like, where are the parents?
Well, I mean, you know, my mom grew up in like a kind of wealthy neighborhood and everything, and she grew up in a wealthy house. Like she basically lived in like a mansion and stuff. She had very little supervision, hence, you know, getting pregnant with me at 16. However, she tells me stories about like going over to her friends' places and like just getting fucking wasted with them. And I'm just like, bruh, where were the adults? Meanwhile, I did not get away with that shit when I was a kid. I mean, I kind of did, and I came clean to her about it recently, and she was just like, Jesus Christ. She was not happy about that. Oh, yeah, no. I had, when I was in junior high, so like 7th grade, there were these girls that I went to junior high with whose mom would legitimately buy you beer if you gave her money. Like, if you went and hung out at her place and you gave her a couple bucks and like let her keep the change, she would go out and buy you beers.
I'm not like a normal mom. I'm like a cool mom.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh my god, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're gonna drink, I would much rather you do it inside the house. And honestly, like full disclosure, that is pretty responsible parenting.
I guess, yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
I remember being a teenager and straight up telling my stepdad, I was like, look, I'll be honest, I drink. I'm not going to tell you where I'm drinking. I'm not going to tell you when I'm drinking. However, if I ever get to a point where I am drinking too much, and I don't feel safe in the situation that I'm in, I'll call you.
Yeah, like I wasn't the kind of kid who ever like went out and like went to any kind of parties or found myself in a situation where it was like, hey, there's alcohol and we're teenagers, so let's drink. But like I did know that like if I did ever find myself in that situation and I got to a point where like I wasn't safe, I knew I could call my parents and they would get me home safely and then lecture me the next day at the very least.
Yeah.
But it was never an issue because I was too shy and I was afraid of my parents, so I never did that shit.
I wasn't, and even when I was hungover and throwing up from said hangover, my stepdad never figured out that I had been drunk. I had to tell him about it years later. And she's like, I was like fucking hammered that time, right? And he was just like, I thought you had food poisoning. I'm like, yeah, that's what I told you, and you trusted me.
You buffoon.
Yeah, no. But another time Aileen left the home, she ran away with her friend Dawn and they hitchhiked to California, but eventually were brought back, obviously. But I mean, that was probably the best time of Eileen's life, to be honest.
Yeah, she got away from everything.
I mean, if you think about it, her life was so full of sexual abuse from an insanely young age, not to mention physical abuse, mental abuse. And in school, she was a poor student. It is said, however, that she did have some artistic talent, which I think is interesting. Her adoptive brother, who she grew up with, he remembered her as an incredible artist. The teachers considered her more of like a okay artist, I guess, but teachers are terrible. But it was found that she had an IQ of 81.
Jeez. Did any of the teachers ever tell anyone or something? Because I mean, the teachers must have noticed that something wasn't right. Like, there's no way she could have been getting into all that shit, having all of that shit happen in her life, and nobody noticed.
Well, there was one teacher who, after Aileen was caught dousing a toilet paper roll in lighter fluid and setting it on fire, wrote to her family in like a like progress report or like a special letter to the family, saying that it was they were encouraging Eileen's family to get her into counseling, and they actually went so far as to say it is imperative that this girl gets counseling.
Oh, can I make a guess of what happened next?
Please.
Pick me.
Kate.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Oh my God. Fucking grown-ups are useless.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I'm not one.
Right? It's a mood. Yeah. And for the record, a normal IQ is about 100, just between like 85 and like 115 is considered normal. Aileen was developmentally slow. Which
also, I just gotta say, I just need to say this right now. I'm a little pissed off at the teachers who said that she was like an okay artist. Like, she's a fucking kid.
Yeah.
Like, you nurture potential, okay?
They didn't.
How about you shut the fuck up?
They did not do that. No.
Like, that anger just hit me, like, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just, fuck you, teachers. Fuck you, those kinds of teachers. Not teachers overall. Overall, teachers, you're great. You're doing amazing, sweetie. But those kinds of teachers, fuck you.
I'll agree to that.
And so she was just failed on like every single front, huh?
Yeah, she was. Mm-hmm. And I know I said after our JFK series that I wanted a nice, simple serial killer, and Aileen was definitely a serial killer. But she's one that you kind of can't help but feel bad for up until her second kill. And I say until her second kill because I have things to say about her first victim.
Ooh. Who was her first victim?
His name was Richard Mallory, but we will get there.
He a dick?
Yeah, 100%. Now, remember how I mentioned the town pedophile?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about him. His name was Mr. Portlock, also
God.
known, I know, the writer of Monster, which is where I did all of the research for this episode, as well as tons of like news art. You good?
Yeah, sorry, my bangs poked me in the eyeball.
No, it's good. It's all right. No, so the writer of Monster, who, you know, this book is where I got the majority of our research from, along with like tons of news articles and stuff about her. But he called the name Dickensian. It sounds like
that.
Charles Dickens would write. You
Yeah,
know?
I was just thinking about it, and yeah, that checks.
Ebenezer Scrooge, Mr. Portlock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, that does not, like, it's bad enough that he was a pedophile, but he's got a Dickensian name.
Yeah, you're not the biggest fan of Dickens, are you?
I really fucking hate Charles Dickens. I've had these feelings since I was in 9th grade. I am glad he's dead, but I would very much like to bring him back to life so I can shoot him in the face.
Settle down there. You're starting to sound a little bit like Aileen.
I just hate him. I know he got paid by the word, but shut the fuck up about the color of the sky and the street and all that shit.
Okay, anyway. So Mr. Portlock was nicknamed Chief. He would have a stream of a revolving door of hookers who would come and see him. He lived in a very rundown house and had a reputation as an unsavory character. And one of his housekeepers claimed that he was a strange, weird man who had cancer. So
interesting. That's a very specific description.
It really is, right? He's a strange, weird man who has cancer. Everyone else just okay.
Excuse me. I am homeless. I am gay. I have AIDS. I'm new in town.
No, but at Lori and Britta's house, Lee had no record player. So Chief would invite her over to his house to use his record player. And he would encourage her to play the albums and dance for him. Yeah. And then he would watch her dance, and then he would hold her on his lap and fuss over her and give her money.
Did it go beyond that? Like, did something happen there?
I mean, isn't that enough? In my opinion, he most likely abused her too, because why would he be any different from any of the other men in her life? Not to mention the fact that, you know, he's the town pedophile.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Technically, we don't know if anything further happened, but I'm going to say yes. Most likely.
Even if nothing did, Homeboy shouldn't have been around children.
Homeboy did not belong around children, faux show. No. But at this point, Lee is about 14, and guess what? She's pregnant.
Whoa. Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Nobody knows.
If it was by Mr. Portlock, we don't know. Some claim it was by her grandfather. And some claim that it was by her brother Keith.
There's really probably no way to know.
No, there is actually no way to know. Yeah, no, because she was sent to an unmarried mother's home to await the birth of the child, where the staff found her uncooperative, unwilling to go along with their little program where basically they would have girls sit in like a group circle and be like, I got pregnant because I make bad decisions and I shouldn't be having sex. I'll never have sex again until I'm married. That kind of shit. It was that kind of a fucking place.
Fun fact, that shit don't work.
Sorry, there's someone like waving a weird stick in the neighbor's yard and it just freaked me out because I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. What the fuck?
You good?
Yeah, they've like got a PVC pipe and it's just going like back and forth, but I can't see anyone's hands or anything. I just see the pipe moving and I'm just sort of like,
hello?
yeah, that's weird. It's not Star Wars Day anymore. God.
No, it's Revenge of the 6th. Thank you very much.
No, it's Revenge of the 5th.
See, that doesn't make any sense.
May
6th
the
makes
4th
more sense.
It's May the 4th be with you and Revenge of the 5th.
But see, 6th sounds more like whatever.
Anyway. Let us know in the comments which one you think it is. Anyways, so she wasn't able to get along with the other girls, probably because the other girls were like, I did a bad thing. I sinned against Jesus and had sex. And Lee was just sort of like,
whoop.
Okay? Like, honestly, what the fuck do you say to that?
Yeah, just like, I don't understand how like that type of mentality is supposed to like make anybody feel like I don't even know what the goal is. Like, is it supposed to make you feel guilty? Like, if you're being sent there, you already know that people are judging you and like you feel bad already. So it's just like,
True.
why you gotta bring Jesus into it? Like, Jesus don't give a fuck.
I don't think Jesus cares. Anyway, so Lee eventually gave birth to a baby boy who was immediately put up for adoption in January 1971, and he has never been heard of since, which honestly I'm glad about. It was a closed adoption. That kid probably has no idea that he was Aileen Wuornos' son, and thank fucking God.
Yeah, like I feel like in this day and age, somebody like would probably find that out and be like, oh my God, I'm like this child of a famous serial killer. But like, that's because people are fucking crazy and they want any excuse to like be noteworthy. But like, could you imagine growing up knowing that?
I mean, Charles Manson has like 3, maybe 4 sons. I don't actually remember the exact number. And yeah, they definitely don't make it look easy. I'll tell you that. Now, at that point, Lori had enough. I guess life was totally fine if he was abusing his granddaughter behind closed doors, but with it being publicly known that she had gotten pregnant, even if they did send her away, it put a tarnish on his reputation, and he threatened to kill Lee and Keith if they did not leave his house forever.
Because it's their fault that he was abusing them?
Fucking right. Now, for Britta's part, she did try to fight Lori on this, and the two had horrible arguments. But under some strange circumstances, in 1971, on July the 7th, Britta died.
What?
Yeah.
Was she like sick? Where the fuck did that come from?
Well, honestly, I don't know. The official story is liver failure, But Diane believes that her father had a hand in murdering her mother.
Yeah, standard go-to. Husband did it. I believe it. Husband did it.
Definitely, yeah. For the record, he did kind of lose it after Britta died. Maybe it was from the guilt of murdering his wife. Maybe it was from the realization that his wife wasn't there to take care of him anymore, because let's be honest, the men in that day and age expected their wives to be there to take care of them, especially men of Lori's age, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, definitely.
70s, so, you know, and he's already a grandfather in the 70s, so he was probably born in like the late 20s, I want to guess.
Maybe early. I would guess probably like early 20s.
Maybe. Anyways, but yeah, no, he definitely was the kind of man who expected his wife to take care of him, and then all of a sudden his wife isn't there anymore to take care of him. So Lori attempted suicide shortly after the funeral of his wife by flooding his basement and standing knee deep in the water with the power on.
The power on what? Did that do anything?
No. And eventually he had to asphyxiate himself in the garage by closing the garage door and turning on the car.
Yeah.
I don't do it.
He didn't deserve that kind of peaceful death.
He really didn't. He really didn't. And meanwhile, guess who found him? None other than Aileen herself.
Oh my God.
Or so she claims. I will say that there is a little bit of a question there, because her brother also claims that he found Lori, but we don't know for sure. But Aileen possibly, you know, even though, you know, she possibly discovered him. And surprisingly, even though he had kicked her out and forced her to live on the streets at this point, she still went to the funeral.
Honey. For why though?
To blow cigarette smoke in the face of her dead grandfather.
Oh, please tell me she actually did that.
Oh no, she did that.
Oh, fuck yes. Yes. Okay.
We stand a queen in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment. Only in that moment.
Then and only then.
I would like to go on the record as saying we do not stand Aileen Wuornos.
No. But we do stand that moment.
We stand that specific moment in time where she walked up to her abuser's corpse and blew cigarette smoke in his face. And then she actually, this is actually kind of funny, she switched the signs on the bathroom stalls. And then just like left.
Chaotic neutral.
Aileen just like, well, it did what I came here to do. Actually, I got one more thing to do. Which, bye, y'all.
Anarchy!
I don't know what that means, but I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that Aileen is the one going, I don't know what that means, but I love it.
Honestly, yeah.
With her IQ of 81. Oh, honey. But anyway.
That's amazing.
Oh my God. I know, right? And she's just like, you know what? While I'm here, I may as well just kind of, you know, make things a little uncomfortable for everyone else. Just really quick. Gonna switch these signs. Boom. Men's room is now the women's room. Women's room is now the men's room. And I'm gone. Suckers.
Just rotten hell, Lori. I'm out.
Peace. No. So you think maybe at this point she would be able to turn her life around, right?
You would think. Did she though?
If she did, unfortunately, we would not be talking about her. Now, as I mentioned before, Aileen would change her story up, and before her execution, she would make the statement, "My dad was so straight and clean. He wouldn't even take his shirt off to mow the lawn. I came from a clean and decent family. My dad blamed me for killing his wife. It was all my fault that she died." But there are far too many witnesses who claim otherwise about Lori's upbringing and abuse to believe Aileen. However, this is actually something that she has a habit of doing, looking back at people with rose-colored glasses.
That's easy to do, though. Like that's very easy. That's a very normal thing for victims of abuse.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and she will do that later with her ex-girlfriend, Ty, who we will talk about in part 2, because, you know, there are points where she talks about how Ty was like the freshly fallen snow. She was so sweet and pure, and she never drank or did anything wrong. Meanwhile, we know that Ty was arrested at least once for drinking in public and was kind of an alcoholic during the time that she was with Aileen.
Spoilers. Next week.
All right, next week. We will get into that next week, I promise. Anyways, so
after all that, like, was there any other family who took them in or anything?
Like, stepped up?
Yeah, like
surprisingly, family did offer. Yeah, and it was actually Diane who offered, the biological mother. After she heard about her parents' death, she contacted Aileen and Keith and offered to bring them down to Texas to live with her. Yeah.
Damn.
But they both turned her down. And Lee is like 14 or 15, ward of the court, dropped out of school, and had left home to become a drifting, hitchhiking prostitute.
As a minor?
Yeah.
How was she ever arrested? There's no way she wasn't arrested for that.
Keep in mind, this is the 70s.
That's true. Nobody cares about kids yet.
No, not really. So her first official arrest that we know of happened in 1974 when she was arrested in Colorado for disorderly conduct, driving drunk, and firing a .22 from a moving car. And yes, it is pronounced 22, not .22, like the fucking narrator on the goddamn audiobook I've been listening to about Aileen Wuornos for the past fucking month. Every time he says .22, I want to throw myself out of a moving car.
Are you sure you don't want to shoot him with a .22?
Yes, I want to shoot him with a .22.
Why is a Brit reading this story?
A Brit wrote the fucking book.
Ugh. The audacity.
Seriously. All right. No, it's a 9. Hang on. I just want to give some
my eyeball
context on this. So that's it. .22. Go fucking face.
So angry.
What?
So angry.
Yeah. What did I text you the first time that I heard that?
Oh God. I don't know, but I about died. You were so mad.
Yeah, I think I texted you like in all caps and was just like, what the shit fuck?
Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick.
It was a while ago, dude. I guess if you just put in .22.
Yep. He said, I'm listening to an audiobook about Aileen, and the narrator is British, and he pronounced a 22 as a .22, and I'm just sitting here like 12 question marks.
It's true. Every time I hear it, it just makes me angrier. And at one point, he talks about a 45 and he doesn't call it a .45. He calls it a fucking 45. So why can't he do that with a fucking 22?
Make it make sense.
I'm like angry tearing up right now.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This has affected her very strongly.
I'm really, as someone who goes shooting, I'm really fucking mad about this. So.
Oh my god.
What?
I was just gonna say something to like try to make you feel better as a joke. I was gonna be like, it's okay, British people aren't real.
It's like the time that me and a friend convinced ourselves that Russia didn't exist for like a night. We were both really delirious and we were reading tweets about all of the people who like were in Russia for the Olympics and were talking about what their rooms were like and stuff. And like it was fucking wild. We're just like, what the fuck is Russia? It's like not even a real thing. It's a weird alternate dimension. I just feel like
Russia's an alternate dimension. Australia is a different planet.
And England doesn't exist.
Yeah, British people aren't real.
Yeah. We're going to get a lot of flack from that. We actually have a lot of British listeners on our podcast. Like the UK makes up a little chunk of our listeners. Yeah, the second, we have 12% of our listeners come from the UK, for the record.
Okay, well, British people who say .22 in regards to the gun, they aren't real. Those are aliens.
Yeah. Agreed. .22.
All right, we've really gotten off track here.
So she was arrested for disorderly conduct, driving drunk, and firing a .22 from a moving car, but she had been using the alias Sandra Kretsch at the time. Now, there were some additional charges because she skipped on her bail, but, you know, that was just like Lee, just never stay in one place too long to face the consequences of her actions. And the next thing we know about her life comes up when she is 20 years old and marries an 89-year-old millionaire yacht club president, Louis Gratz Fell.
Now that's strategic.
Yeah, and if Lee can just keep her shit together, she may be able to just be married to this guy for a couple years and then he'll die and she'll be a millionaire.
Ooh, can she keep it together?
Of fucking course she can't.
Of course she can!
No. Now, I don't actually know how the two met. Maybe he picked her up when she was hitchhiking. Maybe they met at a bar or something, though I can't really imagine that the yacht club president hangs out at the same bars that the hooker hangs out at.
You never know.
You know what? High class hooker I could see, but Aileen Wuornos was a road hooker. She was a freeway to freeway kind of hooker, like, you know, one exit to another.
But you know, that's the thing with rich people. They definitely find a certain charm in slumming it.
So what you're saying is if I hang out in enough dive bars, I too will be able to marry a rich millionaire.
If you, yes, that is what I'm saying.
All right, sounds good.
I couldn't think of a joke fast enough.
After the show, I'm going to go hang out at a dive bar.
Ooh, fun.
I'm not. I'm going to go hang out at the casino. No. But no. So, you know, all we really do know is that he was immediately smitten by the blonde with the good figure, and he asked her to marry him. He bought her a very large engagement ring, and the two were married in Kentucky because, you know, every girl dreams about getting married in Kentucky.
Yeah.
When I picture my future wedding, I just pictured Kentucky.
Did you see? There's a lady on TikTok who does the Florida Man Friday songs,
Oh my God. Okay.
and she did one recently, and it was a man and woman were getting married at a mansion, and they like sent out
Yeah.
invitations,
Yeah.
and oh God, and it wasn't their mansion.
No. They like, so what had happened was the mansion had been it had been on the market to be sold, and the husband or would-be husband came to the mansion, and he looked around at it and everything and assumed that the person who lived there wouldn't be there. He didn't realize that he still lived on the property. He was just selling that house. And so they broke in assuming that the house would be vacant because, you know, it was a house that was for sale. And the guy lived like 100 yards away and was just like, the fuck? Because like all these people started showing up and like setting up for this wedding, and he like walks over and he's just like, "Whomst?" And they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. We have permission from the owner to be here." And he was just like, "I am the owner." And
No, the fuck you don't.
and they were like, "No, you're not." And like started this huge. Oh my God, it was so fucking funny. I was dying.
Oh, Florida.
Florida. Anyways, so you know, Aileen, most of the, or I think all of the people she killed were in Florida, so she's Florida woman.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyways, so the two were married in Kentucky. Now, for a minute there, Aileen was almost on the right track. You know, she's kind of doing okay. She's kind of got her shit together. But of course, she's Aileen, and she's the epitome of disaster woman. So after a night of heavy drinking and a bar brawl that she instigated by getting too rowdy and throwing a pool ball at the bar manager who tried to close the pool table, yeah, she threw it with such force that it embedded itself in the wall. That is how hard she threw it. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So after she was arrested for all of that nonsense, she was bailed out. And after being bailed out, Lewis tried to rein in his 20-year-old wife by threatening to cut off her allowance. And he got to he also tried to do that whole "I'm your elder and you should respect me" thing at first. That's how he tried to rein her in the beginning. "I'm your elder and you need to respect my wishes." My guy.
Look, I understand you're old as balls and she's 20.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, you married her. She's your wife. Treat her like an equal, not like a child, even though by comparison, yes, she is a baby.
She's actually younger than his kids. Yep.
I don't like that.
Yep. But
I'm not a fan of that.
Anyway, so after "I'm your elder, treat me like an elder" didn't work, surprise, surprise, he threatened to cut off her allowance. He got out, "If you don't get it together, I'm gonna cut off your and then she punched him in the face. Yeah.
She hit him. She hit this fucking old as balls guy that she married.
The shit out of him with his own cane. I know.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Listen, elder abuse is not something to joke about. We don't take that lightly here, but it is kind of fucking hilarious a little bit, you know? I mean, don't marry a 20-year-old unless you know you can control her, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, seriously. But also, like, don't marry somebody because you want to control them.
Yeah, that too. Don't do that.
Like, consider that. Like, maybe don't try to control people.
Consider, yeah, it's really fucked up. Anyways, oh, and by the way, Lewis was like 20 years older than her grandfather, for the record. Yeah, he made his fortune in like stocks and railroad bonds.
Oh, he's like old money.
Old he is. Yeah.
He is like old as fuck.
Railroad bonds.
That motherfucker is old as dirt.
Seriously. The man was like a dinosaur and he had the shit beat out of him by Lee Wuornos. Yeah.
What a thing to have on your resume.
She beat the shit out of him with his own cane, and he immediately filed for an order of protection and an annulment of their marriage because, you know, this old as shit guy is like buddies with all kinds of lawyers and judges and shit. So, of course, he was immediately granted it.
You got old money.
Aileen Wuornos just became another sort of Russia's side story at the country club. Oh, remember when Lewis married that 20-year-old who beat the shit out of him?
Oh, yeah, you know Lewis. He's always doing crazy stuff sometimes.
Kids these days, no respect.
No respect for their elderly spouses.
None at all. That's why I'm glad the 18-year-old I married is still in high school. Someone else gets to watch her for 8 hours a day. Oh, I feel wrong. I feel really wrong for making that joke.
Oh, but you know that fucking happened. You know that has happened.
It's accurate. That's the thing. It's funny because it's fucking true, but it's also horrifying because it's fucking true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. Long story short, don't trust old people.
I like that that's where we're at. No, we're not ending there because we have like 2 more things to talk about. Number 1, after Aileen and Lewis broke up, Eileen's brother Keith died of throat cancer. Yeah.
Aww.
Arguably the only man who did ever actually care for her is now dead. Yeah. And it's sad. It's really sad. Now, he was cremated at the same home as Britta and Lori Wuornos. Aileen arrived late for the service, but she did arrive in time to place a rose in his hands before he was cremated.
Yeah.
We had like the viewing and everything. She didn't just like draw like hands in the ashes and then stick a rose in there.
Just like grab a small section of ashes, just like, I think that's a hand.
Excuse me. Oh, that was terrible. I'm breaking protocol on the show right now. Listen, I don't break protocol often. Oh, God, that hurt.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I inhaled a bunch of air when I took that wine. Oof.
Yikey.
Anyway, yeah. So Keith died. Aileen arrived late for the service, but put a rose in his hands. And actually, interestingly enough, Diane flew in from Texas for Keith's funeral. Now, the other mourners were really surprised to see her, but apparently she was too distraught to sit through the entire service. Oh, my baby boy. Oh, he's dead.
When's the last time you saw him? The baby boy you signed over your parental rights for?
He's still my baby.
But you see, legally, he's
I grew him in my body. Don't like that I said that.
Yeah, I'm upset about that. I did not like that.
That wasn't. I don't like that either. I'm gonna move on. So, anyways, so after beating the shit out of her husband, Aileen was arrested, and she pled guilty to the assault and battery charge and paid a fine of $105. Then, unexpectedly, Keith's life insurance from the army paid up, and as Aileen was listed as his next of kin, she was granted $10,000. Enough money to start a brand new fucking life. She immediately went out and bought herself a brand new shiny black Pontiac. And by bought herself, I mean she put the deposit on it. So of course it got repoed. Because of fucking course it did. Yeah. She bought a mixed bag of antiques and a stereo system, even though she had no home to put them in. Yeah. And blew all the money within 3 months. $10,000 in 3 months in 1976. In 1976, do you have any idea what kind of shit she could have done with $10,000? I mean, let me just really quick, let me just look up 1976 money to today. The inflation calendar. There we go. So let's see, 10,000 in the year 2021 would be worth $46,000.5. $46,500 she blew in 3 months.
That's more money than I make in a year, I think.
Yeah. That's insane.
That.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yeah. Now, at this point, Lee, got into a series of new relationships. She was turning tricks. And eventually in 1981, she was living with a retired businessman who was separated from his wife in a mobile home. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just moved my leg and my ankle popped really hard.
Ooh, that's weird. That's weird. No, so she's living with this retired businessman in his mobile home. So obviously he was a great businessman.
Mm-hmm.
But
he was saving money.
Anyway. So, Lee obviously still has her quick temper, and she tried to do that all she could to please him, but drifter style. So, like, for example, when his vacuum cleaner broke, she went and got him a new one immediately that she had stolen from a motel. Yeah.
Resourceful or something.
Drifter love.
It's the thought that counts,
I guess. But anyways, Lee was actually really deeply in love with this guy until they got into a really bad fight and went to sleep angry, which apparently you're not supposed to do. And Lee woke up in the morning still angry because, geez, Lee Wuornos, she angry.
Mm-hmm.
She the angry drifter. So she felt that he might be just like all the others who had taken advantage of her. So she took the car, bought a 6-pack of beer, and then stopped at a pawn shop and bought a pistol and some bullets. She drove for hours and contemplated suicide, but instead, in her words, I was fed up with living. I had no car, no money, no family. I had nothing because it was, his car and his money. a struggle and seemed senseless. I even tried to join the service, the Army, Navy, Air Force, but you needed 42 points to pass, and I always missed by exactly 5 points. So I was going to kill myself. I drank a case of beer and a quarter pint of whiskey. I also took 4 Reds, Liberium. I got in my boyfriend's car and I went to the store. I grabbed a 6-pack of beer and 2 Slim Jims. I had $118 on me. I walked up to the counter and I put my purse on it. The handle of my gun was sticking out and the woman started screaming like hell about how I was going to rob the store. She freaked out and I said, well, what the hell? You want a robbery? Then I'll rob the store. Give me the money. The clerk handed her $33 from the register, and she drunkenly stumbled out of the store, sat in her car for about 5 minutes. And at this point, for the record, all Lee is wearing is a bikini, a pair of shorts, and a cowboy hat.
Yeah, that's totally like how I would assume someone would dress to come rob me.
Yeah, right? Seriously. Like, you see, you know, and you see someone, like, carrying a gun, like, you immediately assume that they're there to rob you. Obviously, you've never lived in an open carry state before. I went to Florida, and everybody had a fucking gun on their belt while I was at breakfast.
Yeah, see, I, like, you know how I feel about guns. I'm not a fan, but, like, you know, if somebody's just coming up to the counter and they have shit in their hand and I see it sticking out of their bag, like, unless they are, like, what do you call it? Wielding it?
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to assume that. Like, maybe calm down for a second. Like, fuck.
Yeah, but in true Aileen fashion, she would later change the story. Because of course she did. So she would say about the guy that she was seeing at the time, in order to test his love for me, I held up a convenience store. If he loved me, he would have gotten me out of that fix. I didn't give a fuck. Russell Armstrong, who was the defense attorney, claimed that Lee was bright but suicidal. So for the first time in her life, someone's calling her bright, apparently. Poor girl. Anyway. They ordered a psychiatric evaluation prior to the trial, and they arrived at the conclusion that she was legally sane and did not meet the criteria for involuntary hospitalization. She was sent to the Florida Correctional Center in Lowell on Thursday, the 4th of May, 1982, where she was disciplined 6 times for fighting and disobeying orders. And eventually, she was released on Thursday, the 30th of June, 1983. She immediately went to go live with one of her prison pen pals and continue her life of crazy-ass drifting and being Lee Wuornos.
Ugh.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to...
That's a rough career choice.
It really, and that's where we're going to leave tonight's episode. Next week, we will be getting into the murders of Aileen Wuornos. But holy shit, her fucking life, though. Am I right?
Yeah, like, you just want one fucking thing to go right for her.
You really do. Like, you can't help but kind of want something to happen that's good for this woman, because holy shit.
Like, that life insurance thing, that was where I was just like, yes, she deserves something good. And then, like, because she has had such a fucked up life and it has fucked her up as a person, she is incapable of processing something positive happening to her in a healthy way, in a way that's going to last.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, listen, as far as like making stupid decisions once you get dead loved one's money. Like, I'm not exactly one to talk. I got a dead loved one's money and went out and got tattoos of the Blues Brothers, for God's sakes. Like,
but that gives you happiness. That sparks joy.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm sure Aileen had some joy by the car, but if she had just kept up with like payments. But she's not built that way, unfortunately. Like she's so chaotic. And she struggles so hard. I mean, in the next episode, we're really going to talk about like her struggles and what the fuck was going on in the brain of Aileen Wuornos. Especially when it comes to men, especially after her first kill, because it's going to get rough. And like I said, this story does not get better. Yeah. So until next week, thoughts on Aileen, Kate?
I just want one thing to go right for her.
You can't help but feel bad for her.
No, you can't. And it's just, it's so frustrating that like I understand them finding her like mentally sound enough to stand trial, but you also can't help but it's hard not to look at that and be like, okay, yes, but like, yes, she's sane, but like,
she's not well.
Is she though? Like, she's not well. This is not somebody who has had the opportunity to really understand the difference between right and wrong. Like, I'm sure like she knows, but she doesn't know how to deal with it.
I'm not sure that she does know. I mean, listen, we know that sleeping with your granddaughter is wrong. Do you think Aileen knew that? We know that sleeping with your brother is wrong. Do you think Aileen knew that?
It's so disheartening. It's such a disheartening story.
It really is. And it kind of gets worse for a while there. I mean, it does get worse. It gets worse the entire way we go. This is not going to be a fun episode or series. But until next week, say goodnight, Kate.
Good night, Kate.
Good night, and don't trust old people.
That is the takeaway. Don't trust old people.
The takeaway of this episode is do not trust old people. We will see you next week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/ChardonnayTC. And then, yeah, next week we'll be back with Aileen Wuornos Part 2. Thank you.